As the Catholic Church formulates its next steps in handling the sex abuse crisis, lay Catholics continue to try to make sense of the scandal. Joining us now by Skype from Miami is Dr. Grazie Christie, Policy Advisor for the Catholic Association. Grazie, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
As a lay Catholic and a mother of 5 children participating fully in the life of the Church, how has this crisis impacted you and your family?
You know, as a mother, trying to read even the redacted report it was almost impossible because, you know, to us, our children are these perfect purities. And to think of anyone touching even a hair on their heads with evil intent, and in fact, vile intent, is almost more than we can bear to think of. You know, and as a lay Catholic, we are heartbroken for the entire Church. We're heartbroken not just for the victims, but for this terrible crisis that all of us find ourselves part of, all of us together.
I'm sure you've been paying attention to the different solutions being proposed. The bishops want a full investigation with lay people involved. Does this seem like the right approach?
You know, that sounds like a good idea. And you were speaking earlier on the show about an apostolic visitation, and that also sounds wonderful. We need all the help we can get. But I think it's also a question that goes beyond procedures. I mean, procedures are important, and children are safe in the Church, but they have to be perfectly safe. So that has to be done immediately. Everything that can be done must be done. But it's also a question of a spiritual crisis. I think the Church, somehow we've lost our way. We've disconnected ourselves from ideas of purity and ideas of chastity, and we have to re-engage with that and start living our faith, that part of our faith, more deeply.
Do we need to see resignations now? Would you like to see the bishops who were involved in the cover-ups resign?
You know, I personally don't have special information about who did what and how. But I think that if anybody in a position of leadership or not in a position of leadership feels that they are part of the rot of the problem, then that's a choice they ought to make.
And I want to ask you, what would you say to Catholics who are brokenhearted for the victims, but also for the Church in general with this latest crisis?
I think that God is giving the Church a rough shaking, and only the unshakable will remain. You know, God is pure, and He wants purity from us. And whatever is lovely and beautiful should stay, and whatever is not love and beauty needs to go, needs to leave our Church and needs to leave our hearts, all of our hearts.
And you referred to this as a spiritual crisis. So how do you address that? How do you address the sin that caused this?
I think we need to address it, obviously, as an institution, the sin of infidelity, the sin of unchastity, the sin of putting our desires before the will of God and the way we ought to treat each other, especially the most vulnerable amongst us. But we also need to apply those lessons to ourselves, to our own lives, to the way we treat each other. Us just regular lay Catholics, we need to also be those pure people, those people of love that God wants us to be.
Some good points right there. Dr. Grazie Christie, Policy Advisor for the Catholic Association. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.